Hello everyone, myself Jaya Karwal, Assistant Professor Political Science from SPCGC Ajmer. Today we are going to study about the President of India, uh, his powers and functions. So let's start and understand them one by one. The President of the Indian public has been given extensive powers. For the sake of convenience, these powers may be studied under the following headings. So first one is executive powers. The Constitution vests all the executive authority of the Union in the President, and these powers may be exercised by the President either directly or through officers subordinate to him. All the executive actions of the Union are taken in his name. The President is Supreme Commander of the Armed Forces of India and has the power to declare war and make peace. And the president makes all important appointments like the governors of the state, prime minister and other members of council of ministers, ambassadors and other diplomatic envoys, attorney general, chairman and members of the Union Public Service Commission, the comptroller and auditor general, chief justices and judges of the Supreme Court and state high courts, the commissioner for scheduled castes, scheduled tribes and backward classes, members of finance commission, etc. He also appoints the chief commissioners or lieutenant governors for the union territories. Initially, the constitution did not specify whether the president was bound to exercise his executive powers on the advice of the council of ministers or not, and therefore the 42nd amendment greatly curtailed president's powers in this regard and made it obligatory for him to exercise his powers in accordance with the advice of the council of ministers. But under the 44th amendment, the president was once again given the power to refer back a matter for the reconsideration of the council of ministers. However, if the council of ministers tender any advice to the president after such reconsideration, the president is bound to accept the advice. Making use of this power, the president referred back the recommendation of the government for imposition of presidential rule in Uttar Pradesh for reconsideration in 1997. Again in 1998, this happened again in Bihar, and so first one is executive powers, and subpoints of these powers are: first one is appointment, second one is removal, etc. And along with this, we have studied that the president is supreme commander of the armed forces of India and has the power to declare war and make peace. Second one is legislative powers. When in legislative powers, we can see that the president is an integral part of the Indian Parliament and enjoys extensive legislative powers. First one is he can summon and prorogue either house of parliament and dissolve the lower house Lok Sabha, as the upper house Rajya Sabha cannot be dissolved. So here I have mentioned that the president can dissolve the lower house, that is Lok Sabha. The Rajya Sabha is a permanent house and the president cannot dissolve it. However, under the provisions of the constitution, the president can call session of the parliament within 6 months of its last sitting. Second one is the president can nominate 12 members of Rajya Sabha from amongst persons who have distinguished in fine arts, literature, social service, etc. And in the Lok Sabha also in the Lok Sabha also the president can nominate 2 Anglo-Indian members if he feels that the community has not been adequately represented in the house. Third one is the president can address either house separately or both the houses jointly. He can also send message to either house. The first session of the parliament after the general election as well as the first session each year starts with the speech to the of the president. The president's with the speech to the president's speech to the parliament correspondence to the speech from the throne in England. In this speech, the president outlines the policy of the government for the year. Next one is We are studying legislative powers, and these are subpoints. Next one is president's assent is essential before any bill passed by the parliament can become an act. When a bill is referred to the president for his assent, he may either sign it or refuse his signatures or return the bill for reconsideration. In the first case, uh, the bill becomes an act. In the latter two cases, if the bill is repassed by both the houses of the parliament, the president has to sign it. Thus, the president has only suspensive veto power. Further, it must be noted that the president has such power only in case of non-money bills. Next one is certain type of bills can be introduced in the parliament only on the recommendations of the president. Thus, a bill for changing the boundaries of existing states or creating new states can be introduced in the parliament only on the recommendation of the president. Likewise, in the state legislature, certain bills can be introduced only after obtaining advance approval of the president of India. Next one is the important legislative powers of the president include his power of regarding ordinances. Thus, 14 leading banks of India were nationalized by an ordinance of the president issued on 19th of July 1969, and the ordinances are issued when the parliament is not in session, and these ordinances have the same force and effect as an act of parliament. However, the ordinance must be laid before both the houses of parliament within 6 weeks of reassembly of the parliament. The ordinance ceased to operate 6 weeks after the date of reassembly of parliament or earlier if both the houses of parliament pass a resolution disapproving the ordinance. Thus, the ordinance can remain to force for a maximum period of 7.5 months. Next one is financial powers. The President of India enjoys important financial powers. First one is no money bill can be introduced in the parliament without his recommendation. At the beginning of each financial year, the President causes to be laid before parliament the annual financial statement showing the estimated receipts and expenditure of the union for each year. Second one is the contingency fund of India is placed at the disposal of the president, and he can advance funds out of it to meet unforeseen expenditure. However, the money spent out of the consolidated fund of India has to be uh, correlated with the after obtaining necessary sanction of the parliament. And next one is he has the power to determine the share of states in income tax receipts. He also determines the amount of yearly grants in aid to the states of Assam, Bengal, Bihar, and Orissa in light of their share of the jute export duty. This is a different provision for these states regarding jute. And next one is the president appoints a finance commission consisting of a chairman and four other members, and normally after 5 years to make recommendations regarding distribution of taxes between the union and the states. In the interest of sound finances, the president may refer any matter for the consideration of the finance commission and ask it to submit its recommendations to him. Next one is judicial powers. The president enjoys important judicial powers like he can grant pardon, reprieve, or amnesty in all cases where the punishment is awarded for violation of a union law, as well as all cases where as sentence of death has been passed. Recently, President's power to grant pardon was sought to be restricted, and it was asserted that these powers must be exercised fairly and reasonably and in accordance with the uniform standard or guidelines. And however, the Supreme Court held that the case was not appropriate one in which the question of laying down guidelines could arise, and that the exercise of President's powers to commute would have to be examined on the basis of facts and circumstances of each case. Next one is, as already mentioned in the executive powers of the president, he appoints the chief justice and judges of Supreme Court as well as state high courts. And the president enjoys legal immunity and is not answerable to any court of law for anything done in the exercise of his official duties. During his term of office, no judicial proceedings can be brought against him. Last one is emergency powers. It is regarding Article 352, Article 356, and Article 360 in our paper. In our this paper, there is a separate topic regarding the emergency powers or emergency provisions of the Constitution, as well as it is an integral part of the paper, the President of India. So we can study this topic in as part of both the chapters. So today we are not going to study about the emergency powers of the president and of India. We will make a separate video to read out and to understand these powers. So that's all for today from my side. Thank you very much.